Okay, what's up, YouTubers? This is your guy, Mr. Evaluator. And today, because of a great subscriber, we're going to be overgoing Bizarro and Trigon. Okay, so in this case of scenario, because of the latest issue comic release to the DC Universe, Bizarro and Trigon. So pretty much in this comic panel, Bizarro, for some reason, goes straight to hell and pretty much flies straight through Trigon's chest and rip his heart out and basically kills him dead and become the king of hell. Now, here's some things that we're gonna have to understand about Trigon. Okay, well, not Trigon, my mistake. Bear with me. Bizarro. Bizarro is pretty much Superman's counterpart, and he has the impressive abilities to clearly impersonate everything about Superman. He is a good diversion and delusion when it comes to, tricking others, enemies, foes, and pretty much anybody else that, either fights with the Justice League or stands against the Justice League. So I'm gonna say all this to say that uh literally Bizarro can basically impersonate Superman. He can literally infiltrate his way to the Justice League watchtower, actually making those people think that he's literally Superman. And it's not one time that, unlike people like Batman, doesn't get any funny ideas about it. You know, only for those who do not know Superman as well. So in this case, if you have a tower, Justice League, Assembly, or anything, you best believe that without any of the heroes personally knowing Superman or not as close as Superman, Bizarro can definitely trick you. Okay? And this guy, Bizarro, is full of trickery, man. This guy has every level of power Superman has, with him also being his counterpart. Now, as far as battling Darkseid, you best believe that as strong as Darkseid is, he would literally give Darkseid a run for his money. Okay, he would literally do that. Unlike Superman, uh, according to the DC Comics, literally Superman never uses his full power, possibly because of hurting others or killing other people because of the shockwave and fraction or after effects of his power, or and also because of the pretty much that the after effects of Superman's powers. Bear with me, but unlike Bizarro, he uses the full force of his power. So that means in this case of scenario, when Bizarro is fighting Superman, he's using 3 times as much of his power than Superman's actually holding back, which basically, forces Superman to use a little bit more force to sustain Bizarro. Bizarro is not the type of guy you should literally underestimate, okay? This guy, as smart as Brainiac is, Brainiac, as intellectual Brainiac is, Bizarro himself, because he's literally too dumb and too stupid to literally understand anything. Like, literally, he doesn't understand anything. It's not that he doesn't understand anything. It's just that everything about him is backwards. And Brainiac won't have no way of computing with him. So even if he were to possibly so-called sustain Bizarro, I mean, Bizarro's just going to keep coming at him until he can't come to him no more. And it's really going to pierce Brainiac. This guy will give Brainiac more problems than the Justice League fighting together to stop Brainiac. Let's just say, prime example, Brainiac is on his way to destroy the planet, right? It's going to kind of agitate him with the Justice League, but Bizarro himself, like, literally is going to be a real serious problem. And pretty much like anybody with, like Lex Luthor, or, the smart people, Bizarro would be the first person to take out. Why? Because he is the biggest and he's the most serious problem to people with intellect. Because the problem about it is, if he's physically attacking you, you already know that we can't get into his mind because, well, he just doesn't have a mind. And everything is backwards in his head. So if you try to get into his mind, it's going to mess your head up. And this explains why Gorilla Grodd or even Darkseid himself make any attempts against Bizarro. Well, I mean, we do know Bizarro, like, Darkseid can get in Bizarro's head, but it's only to an extent. But as far as physical and raw power, he would definitely give Darkseid a run for his money. And before Darkseid has any second thought, he's gonna have to quickly get rid of Bizarro, because as I said in the beginning, Bizarro, let's say Superman holds back 3 times his power, and because he's Superman's counterpart, he's using 3 times that power. Like, literally, if Superman's driving down the road, knowing how fast he drives, he'll go around 10 miles an hour. But being Superman's counterpart, Bizarro's gonna hit 30. And like, that's what make it so impressive about this guy. Like, Superman's villains would even, like, Bizarro is a real nuisance. He is a real problem. And when fighting with Bizarro, even Doomsday, this guy will literally give Doomsday 2 a run of his money. And Doomsday will have no other option but to try to one-shot Bizarro. This is everybody's best chance. Now, of course, Doomsday could have simply, tried to one-shot Superman, but Superman was pretty much giving this guy a challenge, okay? And Superman wasn't using all of his powers, okay? He wasn't using all of his powers. Like, I hate to use feats, but in post-crisis, he hit Doomsday so hard, he punched him into the future. Literally punched him into the future. But in this case, Superman still wasn't using, he did use a fraction of his power, but not as much, because of the after effects and how may it affect everyone else. So in this case, Superman also believes that using a certain level of power may possibly push him out of control, because Superman himself may not have full control of the higher form and the strongest form of his power. Well, actually, the most powerful version of him. He may not, be strong enough and possibly smart enough to obtain that amount of power. That's why he holds back. He's not, powerful enough to sustain enough power at one time without killing other people, without having a after effect or possibly a giant shock wave or something, or without having some sort of backlash. So in this case, a scenario with Bizarro, he doesn't hold back. He used full force, and whatever force he does use, he's using 3 times more than what Superman's actually holding back. And as he's getting and as you are fighting him and you're possibly overpowering him, he's going to use more and more and more. So it's pretty much like in this case of Dragon Ball Z. You fight a Saiyan, he fights you at Super Saiyan, and then he jumps to Super Saiyan 2, then jumps to Super Saiyan 3. And I mean, like, to Goku, it kind of becomes a challenge. So it really doesn't push, Goku or Vegeta or anybody else, but just to get to the highest level of power as fast as they could and just one-shot him. And this is known to any DC character throughout all the DC universe, that you have to one-shot Bizarro because this guy is coming at you with full force. Now, in this comic panel, Um, you know, I'm not even gonna think about Bane. He's way above Bane. But anyways, even Lobo, like when Lobo fights Bizarro, I mean, like I haven't gotten any of. Well, let's okay. So the common basis of Lobo, he's immortal. Like if he even knows he's gonna fight Bizarro, and knowing how dumb he is, like and knowing how much power he's compressing against Lobo, it leaves Lobo no idea but to literally, you know, one shot him as well. Because in this case, nobody cannot toy around. No one cannot toy around with Bizarro because not even the strongest people, and that even goes with Darkseid. You can't toy around with Bizarro in this case. In a brute strength fight, in a physical fight, you can't toy around with Bizarro. You gotta one shot this guy. Cause it ain't no telling how more powerful or how much more strength he be using against you. Or how much more power he's using against you. So in this case, you have to, and pretty much like Brainiac, you have to one shot this guy or he's gonna keep coming at you. So it's pretty much like the opposite of Doomsday. Like the more and more you fight Doomsday, the stronger he gets. But the difference is in between Bizarro and Doomsday, Doomsday doesn't have no limit. Like when you don't wind up killing him, he's gonna get stronger and he's gonna start getting adaptable to more of your attacks and most of your attacks. But the problem is that Bizarro is gonna consistently use power after power after power after power, and just fighting Doomsday, he might possibly throw one punch and blow up the freaking planet. And then from blowing up the planet, he might freaking fracture the entire solar system. I mean, Bizarro is like a, ticking bomb, a nuclear freaking bomb. And this is the chances nobody is going to take with Bizarro. You can't take any chances with him because this guy is pretty much careless. Now, even if he did, was his job was to protect human life, he would not definitely do a good job at it. I mean, he could try his best, but it's only so much he could possibly do. But because, like, it's so much power he could try to hold back on. But if he knows he's going to use more than that, oh, yeah, he's going to come at you full throttle. So, pretty much like, Doomsday, if you don't one-shot Doomsday, then he's going to get stronger. So you literally have to kill him, but you can't kill him the same way. Now, Bizarro, you can consistently beat him the same way, but you're going to have to go at it with different routes, So him fighting Doomsday will pretty much be a good fight. But at the end of the day, it'll leave Doomsday no other choice but to just one-shot him. And I know that Doomsday's not gonna take no chance of him punching him and blowing up the entire planet and possibly blowing up the entire solar system. You see what I'm saying? Blowing up the entire solar system. So he's gonna know, like, okay, I'm gonna have to one-shot this guy. And Doomsday definitely would. I mean, Doomsday has a mind of his own, but he chooses to walk with rage. Chooses to walk with destruction. Chooses to destroy and crush. While Bizarro doesn't have a mind like that. Bizarro is just pretty much, there's nothing inside. So let's get back to the main point. Now, in this case, in this comic panel, it's where he defeated Trigon. Now, I'm just going to go on and explain. Trigon has limitless powers, okay? And having limitless powers, he has limitless regeneration. His power is literally immeasurable. And, like, this is just, like, I mean, this comic is pretty much flawed, okay? So, like I said from the beginning, like in the Marvel DC crossover, this comic panel was made in favor of Bizarro because a lot of people been wanting to see what happens if Bizarro wind up saving the day, or what type of person he'll be if, you see what I'm saying? He was, like the only hero at the time, well, the only person at the time to fight Earth's mightiest and biggest threat. So they kind of really wrote a story for Bizarro. Like, what would he do if, he was to, if he was the only person around at the time, uh, besides Vandal Savage and, you know, besides Vandal Savage and a couple of the like King Shark, or, and anybody else. So pretty much this guy is Bizarro is pretty much that's pretty much was it in the whole comic, was just to favor Bizarro, like a big what if. What if Bizarro took out, he was the one and only guy there at the time, taking out Earth's biggest threat. So in this case, I haven't read the panel fully. I haven't read the entire comic yet, but from what it shows is that, this whole comic was written in favor of, Bizarro. Because we know that, Trigon's power is literally immeasurable. And even if Bizarro was to come at him with, let's just say, Superman have 12 different layers of power, and the 12th one is just multiversal. I mean, we already have it that, Trigon's power is literally immeasurable, and let alone the regeneration. Like, there's levels and layers of regeneration. Levels of regenerations. There's is levels of regeneration. Excuse me for that. I was just thinking, there's just levels of regeneration um, Trigon has. And Bizarro has as well. And like I told you from before, Trigon can literally pretty much one shot Bizarro. I mean, because to him, Bizarro would just pretty much be a game. Like just a game, just somebody to toy around with, and possibly somebody to keep around with. I mean, literally, like he'll fight Bizarro, and him and Bizarro will go there so fast, and like, I mean, like his speed is literally immeasurable. His Trigon's speed is like the way he fights, his strength, all of his power is literally immeasurable and has no limits. But you know, Bizarro himself has limits. And okay, let's give it a highball. Let's just say Bizarro is universal. So in this case, throwing one punch will probably fracture, let's just say, a third part of hell. But knowing Trigon, he could just pretty much, regenerate hell. Because again, he is the embodiment of darkness and evil. And I mean, he doesn't have to be, because literally, Bizarro is pretty dumb. And so he doesn't have evil and he doesn't have darkness. But to Trigon is just pretty much a joke. Like, even if he did have the power to fight the literal embodiment of evil and darkness, like, it does seem like that he can beat Trigon, but because that he has the power to absorb darkness and pretty much consume like the evil itself and obtain the abilities and the power and the levels that evil is, like, literally that puts Trigon beyond evil. It puts him beyond darkness. And, in this case, Bizarro is just getting toyed around with. He's literally getting toyed around with. And the thing about Trigon is like, Trigon could see speed. He could see how fast you're coming at him. This explains why when even Flash is running at his top speed, he can't touch Trigon. Trigon can literally be as fast as he wants to be. He can literally be as powerful as he wants to be. Now, as far as getting in Bizarro's mind, it pretty much even also gives Trigon an advantage because literally, for those of you who don't know, Trigon can literally amplify the powers of Bizarro. He can literally amp his powers. And I'm going to tell you how is because when he goes into hell and and Bizarro doesn't have a mind of his own, Trigon will literally give him a mind. And of course, it's going to be demonic and it's going to be evil. He could literally feed off of that mind, and by amplifying his powers, he will give him the powers of the demons, of an actual demon, on top of what Bizarro already has. And with him fighting, I mean, Bizarro can't warp reality. He can't warp reality. But let's just give him a highball. Let's just say he can warp reality. Again, Trigon's power is limitless. Its power is limitless and it's literally immeasurable. You can't measure his power. You can measure Bizarro. You can measure, and the thing about it, he doesn't have imaginations. I mean, so in this case, overall, Trigon beats him. Trigon literally beats Bizarro. But in this case, like, he just toys around with him, and wow, he has those powers. And he pretty much uses Bizarro to conquer other planets, destroy other planets. And while he's sitting back and relaxing, watching Bizarro and laughing, I mean, like, Trigon is way too OP for him. Way too OP. And literally, at this case, fighting Bizarro, he can also even increase the amount of his strength, the amount of his speed, you know, everything. I mean, Bizarro can do too, but in this case, because Trigon power is literally immeasurable, it doesn't matter how much. Let's just say, for the sake of the conversation, Bizarro throws the strength of the universe. I mean, for a good strength feat, like freaking Bizarro? Trigon would throw an entire universe at Bizarro, and Bizarro will survive that. I mean, he's pretty much a test, and he's just pretty much a test of armor, is what he is. And he will do Trigon a lot of power. So if you ever get a chance, man, just leave a comment in the video and hit me back if you have any questions. Thanks.